Guess who's back? That is right. We are back with some new videos, some new crafts, and just, I know I kind of disappeared at the end of last year, but we are back. And on that note, I hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's. Today I am going to be showing you how to make some super cute lanyards that I have made for some friends, some colleagues. Last year I did have a job change, so that was kind of also why I disappeared. Just kind of trying to get into the rhythm of things and how everything was working. So we are back. Hopefully I don't, have a lot of disappearings, but I am ready to craft. So currently I am trying to rearrange my whole craft area, but I did want to share this video with you. I did have it made a while ago, but with everything going on in my life, I just couldn't get to editing and everything else. But we are back, so I hope you enjoy this video. As usual, I will try to have everything linked in the description, and I am just happy to be back. And I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. May 2024 bring you a lot of happiness and a lot of good time. Alright, my cuties, so we are starting off by mixing our epoxy. And I am mixing about 60 milliliters here. Obviously, you don't want to go that fast. This is sped up a little bit. And also, just as a disclaimer, I am going to be working with different resin pieces. So, like throughout the video. So I am just showing you how I am making my little charm things for my lanyards. Um, so here I am just going to be mixing up a pearlescent pigment powder and a um, color changing pigment powder. And I'm just going to add a little bit of that resin so that I can mix it and then use it to start creating some of the pieces that I am going to be using for the lanyards. So I did this specifically because I was doing a guancha mold. So that UV color changing pigment, it's colorless to pink, so it was just going to look kind of like a transparent pink. So I added that little white just to give it a little bit of shimmer so it can just be kind of like um, a white concha in the like indoors, and then turn into a pink concha when I am outdoors. So I am just filling this, and I will try to have the molds in the description that I used of where I got them. This particular one I got off of Etsy. Like most of my molds, I do get them off of Etsy. I have gotten some off of Amazon, but most of them I do get off of Etsy. And there is a lot of molds that I have purchased from Etsy. So I will try my best, if I remember where I got them from, I will try my best to have those in the description. So to fill this, you can just brush the pigment powder onto the area that you need it in. But since I want kind of like that um, effect of a real concha that the bread is showing through, I'm not going to do that because every time I try doing that, I just end up getting pigment powder everywhere. So I decided for me this was going to be a little bit easier. So I am just using a toothpick, and I'm doing this very carefully so that I don't scratch up my mold because it can get scratched up. So you do want to be careful if you do try that. So I left those sitting for 24 hours. And like I said, I'm going to be using different pieces. These pieces I had made beforehand. So this particular piece has a little etched floral design on it. So I am going to just be using some white acrylic paint, and I am going to just rub it into that etched piece of the resin piece that I did here. And again, I will try to have the glitter that I used in the description so that you guys can get it if you like it. This is kind of like a dusty rose um, pink color. It's super pretty. And so now what I'm doing, I just kind of sprayed a um, napkin with some alcohol. I found that it is easier to remove and it doesn't necessarily lift the paint as much. Um, on some occasions, I do forget to wipe it off immediately, like right after. So I use a little bit of acetone with a napkin to remove that dried up paint. So here, what I'm doing, I am creating a hole on a um, mouthpiece that I have, and I'm creating one on the top and one on the bottom. And this is a handheld drill thing that I got off of Amazon. Um, Most of the tools that I have and that I'm using in this video, I have gotten them from a long time ago. So I will try my best to have everything in the description in my Amazon account, in my Amazon list. So now what I did, I just cleaned up whatever residue left that I had, and now I actually gave these out as gifts. So I am putting the names of the people that I gave them to. So this particular one I created for my sister. Um, so she was starting her school year, and she and her friends decided that they wanted some lanyards. So I decided to make them some lanyards. So here I'm just going to put my sister's name, and I'm going to put it kind of at an angle because of how I made the holes on the resin piece, so that when she puts it on it's kind of more straight and then the little mouse head is kind of just tilted and it looks super cute. So after that, like I said, I'm just going to put on the names on both of these. And if you know me, I am infamous for not wanting or not getting my holographic vinyl to cooperate with me, and my transfer tape also sucks. So I always have a hard time getting most of my vinyl pieces to stick. So this other one is for another friend that I have, and she also is a teacher. And so I decided to make this with her last name on it. And now what we are going to move on to is just doing a simple top coat on this. So I'm just making sure that I am spreading the UV resin all around and that I don't get it in that hole that I drilled. It shouldn't go in there unless you push it in. I have had that happen to me, but it's okay. You can still use that little drill and you can just make the hole again. There's also like electrical drills, the small ones. So I will have that one linked as well in the description. You will see me using it a little bit later on in the video. So after I do this, I am going to measure my lanyard, the string for the lanyard, and I am going to cut it, and I'm going to burn the edges off. Well, not burn it off, but I'm going to burn the edges so that it doesn't unravel. Um, so that it is much easier to handle. So this is the other little drill that I have, and I am just going to use it to create a very tiny hole so that I can put an eyelet on this one, because this one is so much more thick than the mouse head that I used for my sisters. Um, this one I have to put an eyelet on the top and the bottom so that I can place the charms and everything else that I'm going to place on the part of the lanyard. So I am just going to take two little eyelets and I am going to try my best to just align it into that hole and screw it in there. Um, you do want to put maybe a little dab of UV resin on there. Just be careful that you don't get it on or inside the eyelet. I forgot to do it right now. So at the end of the video I will show you how I did that. And so now I am just going to try to align it as best as I can so that it is even from the top and bottom and it's straight. So after I did that, I am going to start attaching my other eyelets onto my mouse head and the other piece, along with putting in some of the beads onto the string for our lanyard. So this was a little bit hard because I did do that top coat and I did the hole a little too to the bottom. So on some of the ones that I made, it was a little bit harder to get that little eyelet onto it, but it was okay. It worked out at the end. You just do want to be careful of where you are putting the eyelets and all of that. So now what I am going to do, I'm going to start attaching my things onto my um, resin piece. So this was just a little ID holder. I'm going to put a little tassel on it and maybe even a whistle. Like it just kind of depends whatever you want to put it, whatever you want to put on your lanyard. And so this one, like I said, it had the little eyelet, so I ended up just putting those other eyelets through this one, so it's not as, like, it's a little bit more dangly too than the other one. So, if that's a word. So now I am going to start stringing my beads. And I am going to use these bubblegum beads. I got these off of Amazon. You can use whatever kind of beads you like. I have also used wooden beads. I do recommend, if you are using the wooden beads, that they're at least 16 mm so that they're not so so that the hole isn't as small and you have enough room to pass the string through it. So what I did here is I am going to just align my string using my resin piece. I have also used a paper clip when my resin piece isn't ready. So just to have the beads already onto the string, and that way I can just attach the resin piece um, onto the lanyard with the beads. So if you are in a bind and you want to get things done quicker or just progress, you can use a paper clip or something else that you're not necessarily going to use while you're making your lanyards. So I did have to kind of make the hole bigger on some of these, especially like this one with the little rhinestones on it. So I just took my drill and I am just going to make sure you are very careful with this. I am just going to drill that hole a little bit bigger and then finish passing the strings through to finish off my lanyard. So I did do this with most of them because some of the holes were a little bit on the smaller side, specifically for these rhinestone ones. But for the other ones, it was pretty good. So I just finished this off. And after I finish this off, I am going to take my little clasps, my little clip things that I totally spaced on what it's called. But I am going to take the little things that you use to attach your lanyard. So these little things I also got off of Amazon. Um, like I said, I will have most of the things in my Amazon favorites list so that you can find them there. And I just tied a little knot at the end, and I did make this particular string a little bit longer. The measurement you saw in the beginning of the video when I was measuring this is the one that I actually used at the end. So I did use about like 40 or 42 inches in the beginning, and by the end I cut it down to like 30 something, 37 or 8 inches. So I just attached everything, and I did create that little hole so that it could um the little, not the hole, the little knot so that it wouldn't untie as easily, and then I just clasped them together. So now I'm just going to add the rest of the stuff onto my lanyard. So I have that little ID clip, I put a little keychain, and I put a little tassel on it, which I think makes it just looks super cute. So this is the one with the bigger one, and now the one with the mouse head. I did the same thing. I just used the resin piece to measure out, to even out where my beads were going to be, and then I just repeated the whole process, and I finished off this particular lanyard. Okay, so now that I finished those two, I am going to show you how I put the UV resin onto that little eyelet that I put on here. Obviously, I did this afterwards, so you do want to do this before you have everything put together. I had just finished this lanyard and I did not want to take everything apart and then have to put everything back together. So I just did this very carefully, but you do want to make sure that when you're doing this, you do this before assembling your lanyard. So like I said, I'm just being super careful with this with the UV resin, and I'm using a toothpick so that I can make sure that I don't have an excess amount of UV resin and then end up closing the hole. Even though technically at this point it wouldn't necessarily matter since everything is already put together, but I do like a little bit of movement to my lanyards. So, like I said, just do this before you assemble everything. So that is the video for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for supporting this channel. I hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!